Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for attending this meeting of Mumbles Community Council for the 12th of March 2024. And thank you as well all the public who have taken the opportunity to speak today as well. It's always nice to see public participation at meetings. You're always welcome. So if I refer straight to the first item on the agenda, if we go to apologies for absence. Okay.
Chair, you said the 12th of March is the 12th of April.
Oh, sorry.
It's the 9th of April.
Yeah, sorry.
I beg your
I'm
pardon.
reading from the minutes from the last meeting. So it's the meeting for the Tuesday, the 9th of April.
Methodian. I said metal.
Oh, yeah.
Doing right.
Okay, so we've got the date right now. It's the 9th of April. So, okay, so if we can go to item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. Kerry?
Chair, I've got Tim and Tim and Tim. No, I haven't. No, it's just Mike Parkin, actually.
Okay, then. Noted. And then we'll go on to declarations of interest.
I've got one on, excuse me, number 9, the number 10 recommendations for the finance and compliance on the yoga, moves and grooves yoga.
Okay, can we note that?
Yeah, item 10, do you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
personal interest. Thanks, Gary.
Rebecca?
I've got personal and prejudicial interest in the planning application because I've already publicly objected, and personal and prejudicial interest in the closed item on dispensation request. So I need to leave for both of those.
Okay, thank you for that. And Sarah?
I'll have to leave during the planning conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
Just trying to say that's prejudicial as well, Ian.
Yeah, prejudicial.
Due to being on Swansea Council.
Well, I'd have to leave for it.
Yeah. Anybody else? If not, then I better register a personal interest in, as much as I know Dennis and Calder are personally behind me, who are involved in the planning application. So that's item 15.
I'll register a personal as well in that one, Kerry.
Just it's always better to be on the safe side, I find, with these things. Okay, then, so if we go on to item 3, public participation, where members of the public make representations, answer questions, and give evidence of any item on the agenda. So this is where I'm sure somebody from behind me will want to speak.
I will speak, Chair, if I may.
Yeah, I think we
We were going to do that first and then do the.
okay, that's why you want to do it. Yeah, fine.
Which way?
I thought we were going to vote to suspend sound orders on the item. Talk about that.
You don't need to anymore because members of the public are allowed to make representations at any part of the agenda.
We're just wondering who's going to speak to the agenda item. So
if you do your public participation and then if you move the agenda item and then Martin, you can share the discussion.
okay, then.
I'm going to leave now.
Okay. It's always better to be on the safe side.
So, sorry, I'm confused. Are we on the item?
We're on item number 3. Sorry about this confusion, but we get these technical things.
So Sarah will be.
Sarah will need to leave as well. Sarah? So we take it calmly, you're going to be speaking.
I'll speak, if I may, Chair.
Yeah.
People in the lobby.
Are the people in the lobby waiting to be? Judith Twining's there.
Just take the green.
The green tick.
Go down.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if I hand over to you, Colbert, you're coming to speak.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Colbert. I've met some of you before. Thank you for making the time for me and to give me the opportunity to speak to you today. As you may be aware, I live in my family home, which is across the road from the West Cross Garage in Ripples. We've been there since 1977. In the 47 years since we've been there, we frequently use the West Cross Garage and have regularly visited Ripples since it opened about 40 years ago. both become an important part of our community, valuable community assets. My reason for coming here today is to share with you my concerns that many of the local residents have about the planning application to demolish Ripples and the West Cross Garage, and to replace them with a 3-storey development, including a large commercial enterprise. The demolition of Ripples and the West Cross Garage would be a dreadful loss for Norton, West Cross and Mumbles communities and the wider area. With this in mind, we've come together as residents to share knowledge and have written a short briefing note, which we started sharing with local residents. I've shared this with you. You may have had this, but I have some paper copies if you haven't got it in front of you, which I'll be very happy to share. Is there anybody who'd like a paper copy?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a paper. I've got it on my, I prefer.
Yeah, can I pass it to you?
Graham as well, please.
Just pass them around and back it off and then yeah, Harry? Yeah.
We note highlight 7 areas that we feel have not been addressed properly in the plan application. The first 4 are based on issues highlighted in the previous unsuccessful application. The 5th, contaminated land, has been completely ignored. And the critical aspects of the last 2 points have been largely ignored. Despite the application being submitted over the Easter holidays, I'm pleased to say that there has been a high level of interest from residents. And many of us already submitted objections. I'm here with Dennis Dwyer, the current leaseholder of Ripples. And if it's appropriate and helpful, Dennis and I will be very happy to try and answer any questions you may have about the position. Thank you all.
Is there anybody else from the public who wishes to speak? If not, have we got any questions from the council?
Yeah, in my ignorance, what is contaminated?
Contaminated land, in this instance, is where we have a garage forecourt with fuel tanks, which have had petrol in it. And that the tanks and the pipes will have had those contaminants sitting in it for some time. Also, the floor slab in the garage would have been subjected to oil and other contaminants over time. Now, my concerns are these would have seeped into the ground.
Substrata.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you haven't been retailing fuel from that garage for an awful long time.
No.
So were they filled with concrete?
So I've been told. I'm not 100%.
That's what they used to do.
Yeah, I was told they were filled with concrete.
For example, with the Shell garage on Mills Road, they were actually removed, the tanks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say 100%, but that's what I was told.
Well, I think what concerns us is the fact that on the planning application, the applicant has answered no to the question, is this contaminated land? So obviously, some surveys need to be done.
yeah, I think that ought to be explored, but my question was to establish. I had an idea it might be that, but
Just for full disclosure, my professional background is I'm a fellow of the Institution of Civil Engineers, and this is something that we deal with on a regular basis in my professional capacity. And where these instances have arisen before, there's usually need to do a full survey on contamination. And what we found is it's bad enough having contaminated land, but if it's disturbed, it's a bit like putting a drinking straw in a glass of fizzy drink. You'll actually wick the contaminants out. So there's an inherent risk and a liability of the owner of the site to maintain and manage any contaminants on their site and not to cause further damage.
Rian, question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I thought It was just the garage that they wanted to get rid of. No, I thought that they were, proposing that the ice cream parlour remain.
Yeah, but they're on about knocking down the whole building and then rebuilding it.
No, I thought their recent application was just for the garage to be gotten rid of.
No, the application's for demolishing both properties.
Both properties.
Price on the ground floor and 2 further stories above it, so 3-story.
Right, okay.
That's the point that if they demolish those properties, it'll disturb the crowd.
I don't know where I got that information from. Thank you.
Okay, Helen.
What's the best thing to do if councillors are against this, which I'm sure several of us may be? Is it better for us to submit individual objections, or are we discussing whether MCC puts a collective one objection in?
Yeah, both. I would say in relation to that, individual councillors are within their rights to submit their own objections, but I think as a body, when is the deadline? It's fairly soon.
It's some point tomorrow.
But I do think that we could make the fact that we have discussed it at this meeting today and any conclusion that we come to.
We have had it extended in the past.
Well, this is the reason, again, I think when we brought it to this council meeting and why we wanted to discuss it again is in the past, as a council, we have objected to this and it has been resubmitted again, and the whole discussion is whether the concerns that were raised last times have been addressed with this new application. Will, you have
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Chair. The thing that really worries me about the application is shame we're back here again, obviously. I don't know when it was. It seems like it was about a year ago. Yeah. Obviously, the loss of amenity of the garage being a big one. Because I think we've only got Newton Garage and the nearest next one's all the way down in Gower then. Well, obviously, there's some Sketty probably, I'm not sure we're not aware of, but yeah, it's not enough garages to service. So that's the main issue that I have. I was under the impression that there was, in the last application, there was something flagged up from the LDP around loss of amenities. Could you expand on that a bit?
Yes, that's correct. There were a number of quite strong reasons for refusal last time. And loss of community space was brought up. I would have thought that maybe the applicant would have addressed some of those issues in his application. He hasn't mentioned anything about providing community facilities in the application, so I don't know what his plans are in that regard.
So there was in the response to the last application was one of the reasons it was turned down because of the removal of the garage.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's covered under amenities, obviously.
Yes.
Richard, first of all, for the garage, how long have you had the garage there, and how long has the garage been?
24 years. I grew up on West Coast because I know somebody working on cars there when I was about 10 years old, so a long time.
We believe about 1920, although the council planning documents gives a date which is possibly notional of 1900.
So I think it's at least 100 years. And yourself, how long have you had it, and how long has the cafe been?
Just 6 months longer than Mike. So 25 years. And the cafe's been there for 40 years, so it actually predates Verities, would you believe?
So, long-standing businesses.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the previous applications, has there been an ice cream parlour mentioned? No. So he's just trying to keep the council happy. So why put an ice cream parlour there?
Between the last
One there. I don't see that. I don't think, is it just to get the flat on top for?
Yeah.
For the money? That's
well,
and unfortunately, Mike will lose his business.
Sorry, that's all conjecture, really, but yes, that's
And is it guarantee that he would put an ice cream parlour there, or would he leave it for a year or so and then?
Was this promotion?
Yeah.
Let's take a box of them, say that it's not working, and then they'll close that down.
Yeah.
And
It's a house.
But then again, I think we've got to judge this application on what is in there at the moment, you know, like as I sort of said, yes, you know, we can have all this, but a lot of that is conjectural, and, you know.
If I may add to that, Chair, I am concerned on the scale of the proposed commercial enterprise, and there's a number of issues that around that. There's one point about the expectation of passing trade to fill the covers, which I find spectacularly inaccurate. Dennis has been running the existing business for years, and he's not flooded with enough people to fill the entire ground floor of the scale that's been proposed. There's also been incredible lack of awareness on parking and traffic movements and congestion. The local streets have been very, very congested with visitor parking, particularly since the charges were raised in the dairy car park. There is no capacity for additional parking. The hours of operation are proposed to be 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't know where these people are coming from, where they're expected to park, and how they're expected to maneuver around the facility. It's really dangerous in my experience that we have lack of facilities. You know, we've got a clean air policy coming in, I mean, net zero. It's going to do nothing to support that. So there's those, as we said, the scale and the size of it, the employment. There's no business case. There's no demonstrable business case to generate or justify employment. You know, there's a number of issues. Flooding. Apparently, the proposal suggests that the ground floor can be sacrificed to flooding, which I find bewildering, and the fact that any flooding measures seem to be around remedial measures that are used in buildings that are subject to flooding already, and it passed on the council to maintain the seawall at height, which of course stops close to the ripples anyway. So there's a very strange case for that. And also they haven't really addressed, in my opinion, the green space and ecology issues around the wildlife and the valuable trees that are in the green space next door. So there's quite a lot in here under those 7 points.
Well, yeah, I did have one more question just around the flooding side of things. Is the proposal, the proposed height of the building, is it exactly the same as is? Or is it higher or lower? Because the ripples is set down slightly, isn't it?
It's contradictory. In part of the document, it says that it won't be raised and therefore won't cause an issue to the surrounding properties by pushing water onto them. In other areas, it says that it will be raised.
Right.
But if you're looking at the National Resources Wales flooding maps, it's on the verge of some reasonably severe flooding, and the TAN 15 regulations that are out at the moment are outdated. We're waiting for updates on that. But it's clear that given the current adverse weather conditions and rainfall and tidal rises, that the flooding is getting worse there. So looking at retrospective TAN 15, it's not great. Going forward, it's going to be really difficult, possibly a disaster, that we're having a proposed building that's just, they admit themselves, is okay to flood on the ground floor.
Okay, Rob, question for Dennis. Being a keen cyclist, more of a keen cyclist yourself, are you the only person along the prom you know of where you cater for bike repairs and puncture repairs and stuff like that?
We have had a charity which is based in Catherine Street, which is called Recycle, doing bike repairs on a Saturday morning in the past, and we're hoping to start that again in the future. We've got bike tools and bike pumps and stuff, and I do them a little bit as and when. But then obviously there's the active travel sort of agenda. So I like to think that we do help walking and cycling on the front to encourage people to.
So what you're doing is providing a service for people using bicycles, that there is
And walkers, yeah.
And walkers, but there is no other service along the prom for.
Yes, we've got a sign on the toilet that says customers only, but we've never enforced that. So if people want to spend a penny and they pass and they don't want to spend any money with us, want to spend a penny, they're welcome to do so, yeah.
Just to be clear, it's not that you don't want to run ripples anymore. You would be prepared completely to carry on doing that.
I'm prepared to carry on at the moment. The lease of the new business, if it takes, hasn't been offered to us.
If it was.
Sorry?
If it was.
I probably couldn't afford it because at the moment Mike and I share the rent. So if unless the landlord is going to drop the rent considerably, as much as having one business there, which I doubt that he's going to do. It probably go beyond our needs.
So that's another discussion.
Yeah, that's another decision, again, conjecture and yeah, okay.
Carrie?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the actual footprint of the building. Is it still going to provide the outdoor space at the back, or are they intending to push it right through to maximise their indoor space? Is there any indication of that?
The current car parking space at the garage will go and become part of the current house, and half of the seating area, the outside seating area, would also become part of the house. So the current application is for a rectangular, long rectangular plot. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're talking about increasing the capacity of this, but reducing the availability of outdoor space, which is, as I know from up and down there walking the dog, is used summer and winter.
Yes.
It just seems ridiculous that they're trying to kind of increase the indoor space, you know, when what is needed is nice outdoor space for people to be able to sit and enjoy. And are they going to, do you know if they're going to kind of have it so that from the road it is apparent that it is an ice cream parlour?
Well, the current planning conditions are that there's no advertising allowed on the road.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know what will happen in the future.
Because I mean that would be a recipe for chaos, because people driving along would think, oh, look, we can stop off. And as you say, they're going to be parking just anywhere and everywhere around. Whereas at the moment, you know, the great thing about Ripples is that driving backwards and forwards up Mumbles Road, there's no indication it's there. It's specifically for people walking and cycling along the prom.
I would imagine the current planning restrictions
would still comply. Yeah.
Okay, so are there any other questions from council members to the members of the public?
Yeah, just the entrance to it. It does look like, is the entrance still on the promenade to go in?
Yes.
Yeah.
But just to add to that, there is an increased glazing, and there's glazing on the roadside overlooking the properties on the Mumbles Road. And it will be visible commercial enterprise from the roadside, just to pick up your points.
Yeah, which is a concern.
So whether there's an advert or not there, that people are going to know.
People will be able to see it, yeah.
Okay, Helen, do you want to come in?
Final question. The company will that be B&B or will that be
Didn't quite hear.
Yeah, I think what you're asking, Helen, just to confirm, you're asking, is the proposal for residential or is it for holiday accommodation? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. As I understand it, is it residential at the moment? Well, yeah, as I sort of said, we're going the conjecture there, but as it stands at the moment, it is for residential.
I'm not clear in the proposal whether there's a differential in the planned application for holiday accommodation. Yeah. And also, as it was mentioned, it's projected, but there's no business plan for the downstairs.
Yeah. So. Martin, just to confirm that I am, I will, put an objection in. So how many others are doing that, do we know?
Well, this is something I think this is the next phase now where we discuss it as a council. Okay. Will, I need him to do. Yeah, sorry, no. I can't do this next bit.
Oh, sorry, yes, I just proposed to move item 15 forward to now, Chair.
Okay, has anybody got any objection to that? So, we've had the discussion about this proposal. Are there any other councillors want to raise any other points, or anybody want to speak in favour of the application? Speak now forever, I've got to give people the opportunity, haven't I? So if that's the case, are we happy to go to a resolution that we put an objection in, an official objection to this proposal? Yeah. All those in favour? So I think that is carried unanimously, so we will record that. Okay.
Chair, as a footnote, I did ring the council to ask them what time tomorrow the closure for the objections were, and they didn't know.
Okay, so we get in contact first thing tomorrow morning with the council, and quite often if it's a community council, there's a bit of leeway, you know, you have to hit the deadline.
And it'll be based on your points.
Yes.
Plus Rose's issues, I think, is
We will reach the point if we, representations from members of the public. We have discussed it as a council, and we will be putting an official objection in. Thank you. Should try. Thank you. Let's read it to me, Howard. And then thank you all, thank you all, much appreciated, thank you.
Message Sarah to say, oh, you've done it.
Cheers, God. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Oh, there's something yes. Right. All right.
Well. It doesn't like to okay.
Sit over here, the guest draft.
Chair, the sound is really poor, scraggy and intermittent and double. It just isn't good at all.
Yeah, let's get everybody sat up, please. Yeah.
She's here. Oh, she's in it.
What's your sound like now, Pam?
I could hear you clearly, but a lot of the times it's just like underwater bubbling.
I think one of the issues that we had is we had a lot of people in the room. Maybe it will be a bit better now, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Weren't we going to, as a site, weren't we going to order in a lot of new sound equipment? Where are we with that?
Well, we looked into this. We're going a bit off topic here, but we did look into it, and I think there was financial constraints. It was quite expensive.
Okay.
We continue to explore. Anyway, so if we can go back to the agenda to approve the minutes of the full council meeting on the 12th of March, which I thought was the date of the meeting. So if you have a look at the minutes which are in your meeting pack, if I go through page 1, page 2, anybody? Page 3.
Seems like that sandwich.
Page 4. Page 5. So we're all happy to accept those as a true record of the meeting from March. Okay, I'm going to propose of that. Richard and seconder. Yeah. Okay, Ian, get this down.
Thank you. And it was Rob for the second one, is that right?
Yeah. Right. So to approve the schedule of decisions for the financial year 2023-2024, you'll find these in your pack as well. Are you saying anything to this or?
Yeah, so I'd just like to explain why this has come forward. So as many of you probably know, in 2021, Welsh Government voted new legislation, and part of that new legislation is what's called general power of competence. To be able to be a council that declares general power of competence, you need to have 3 unqualified audits from Audit Wales plus a qualified Silk clerk. I am not qualified in Silk yet because I've just started my studies, and we haven't had the outcome of our audits for the last 2 years, so therefore we can't declare general power of competence. So to demonstrate to Audit Wales that we are making decisions in line with the relevant powers and legislation to council, we've documented all the decisions and put the relevant legislation and law next to them. So then when we send off all our minutes and everything for auditing this year, we can also include this document to show that we have acted. Hopefully that they will agree within the law with the decisions that we've made.
Any questions? If not, are we happy to accept this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So then if we move on to the clerk's report now, next.
Yeah, so just a very quick one from me, because I know that you are going to cover this in more detail in your report. So I just wanted to say and have put on record how extremely proud I am as the council, as your clerk, for the accolades we just received at the recent One Voice Wales Awards. I'd like to thank all the officers and council members that were involved in the various different projects that we received the awards for. We have done press releases that have gone onto our website and on social media channels, and it's actually been shared on One Voice Wales social media channel as well. So again, just wanted to put that on record that I'm really proud, so thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for your report. And we'll go on to now the chair's report, where, as you sort of said, I will be covering this in a bit more detail, because when we have something like this, I think we need to shout about it, to be perfectly honest. So for this month's report, I'm pleased to report how MCC excelled at this year's One Voice Wales Awards. We have managed to achieve high accolades across various categories. It is my belief that this represents an exceptional and prestigious achievement by the council, as we received high commendations and accolades for our unwavering dedication to community development and engagement. The One Voice Wales Awards are open to 735 community and town councils throughout Wales. So for us to achieve these awards is a solid recognition of our outstanding commitment to delivering for the community that we've all been elected to represent. Our awards were, in case you've forgotten, highly commended heritage project. Mumbles Communities Council community commitment to preserving and promoting local heritage shines through this recognition. The council's heritage project not only celebrated the rich history of the community, but also actively engages residents in appreciating and safeguarding its cultural legacy. Highly commended an environmental project. Mumbles Community Council's proactive stance towards environmental sustainability has been duly acknowledged through innovative initiatives and collaborative efforts. The council has demonstrated its commitment to protecting the environment and fostering a greener, more sustainable future for Mumbles and its residents. Highly commended in community engagement. The council's dedication to fostering a strong sense of community and promoting active citizen participation has been commended. Mumbles Community Council's inclusive approach to engagement ensures that all voices are heard and valued, fostering a vibrant and cohesive community spirit. Additionally, Mumbles Community Council received a commendation for its outstanding efforts in community initiatives. This recognition highlights the council's proactive approach to addressing local needs and implementing initiatives that enhance the quality of life of residents. The fact that we've been recognised with these various commendations in so many categories provides clear and independent recognition of the variety and quality of the service of our hard-working officers and members have delivered over the past year. It also demonstrates how, by working in partnership with local volunteers and organisations, we have developed innovative and inclusive initiatives aimed at responding to local needs. Over the past few years, as a council, we have sought to develop the capacity of MCC to deliver significant projects that meet local needs. And having now received recognition of our ability to do this, we intend to build on this and go from strength to strength in our quest to make Mumbles an even better place to live, work and visit. The achievements of the One Voice Wales Award underscore Mumbles Community Council's ongoing commitment to excellence in governance, community development and environmental stewardship. While we as members can take a real sense of achievement from these national accolades, I want to take this opportunity to give due recognition to our clerk, Kerry, our dedicated staff, Diane, Claire, Ian, Lydia, Elaine and Don, and not forgetting Martin, who has recently left us for pastures new. Without their hard work and dedication, we would never have been able to deliver the services that have won MCC this recognition. That said, going forward, let us not rest on our laurels, as it were. I am sure that the future is going to hold additional challenges and opportunities, just as we have encountered in the past. But these awards have shown that we, as a team, have the ability to respond to them and deliver positively for the people who elect us and visitors alike. And I hope that we can continue to deliver on that challenge. Thank you very much. That's my Chair's report. So unless there's any, thank you very much. Thank you. So unless there's any questions on that, can we move on to the financial report for April? Again, you'll find this in your meeting pack. Okay. The financial report?
Yeah, so obviously Paul has provided me with the, provided everybody with the financial report. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has got any.
Will, thanks. The AJ insurance, is that our general insurance?
Yeah.
Though? Okay.
Yeah.
Has that been updated since we've taken over?
That has included the Ostream.
Tennis courts, Ostream, skate park, everything?
Yeah.
Cool. I noticed Maverick fencing, 1900. Was that a temporary or was that to do with the build? Was it the build or something?
Extended use fencing that was around the skate park.
Yeah. So when it was being built? Right, okay. And the council's grass cutting, 1850, is that a yearly fee or is that just?
Part of the fee that we pay to Swansea. So I'd have to clarify before if that is the yearly fee.
Okay, so do you know that off the top of your head, Carrie? 1850 for grass cut in Swansea Council. Is that skate park related? Is that what?
I would imagine it is because
So it would be an annual fee, it wouldn't be a, yeah.
you've got a bin emptying fee.
And there's a bin emptying as well, which seems to be a very expensive business. The grass cutting, it is something I think we should question how often they're cutting it, because we may want to cut back on when they cut it, as it were. You know, because it's really not necessary to keep it.
For example?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
And June and July as well, ideally.
Yes. Refuse collection, I believe, is £3,000. There's one bin there, I believe.
4, I think.
Well, if they empty one, they might as well empty 4, I suppose. It's £3,000, whatever. As far as grass cutting goes, cutting the grass around the skate park, but in addition to that, the considerable piece of land adjacent to it. And I believe, according to the chair of
Me.
What?
Oh, I forgot who it was, Community and Social. They were made to take over that piece of land.
Yeah.
Now, that's very convenient for City to make us take that over, because we then have to pay to maintain it. Now, bearing in mind it's an extraordinarily high water table there, you know, cutting the grass shouldn't be that frequent, or you'd have to have a submersible lawnmower to cut it. I don't see why the grass can't be, bearing in mind we're environmentally conscious. I don't see why we have to keep it cut. But there was something I mentioned the other day. I was thinking about it. What could we do with that piece of land as a means to cut down on the grass cutting? And I thought, well, why don't we plant some willow there?
Yeah.
And then we could make it a cash crop, and then we could sell it off to those people that do the basket weaving and such things. I think that might be an idea.
It's about environmental, I think. Yeah, I think we need to go too deep into this now. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, no, I very much agree with you. Carrying on.
Yeah, just curiosity, I wondered why we're paying £250 for Bright Clean laundry services. I didn't think we had any laundry.
It's not laundry, it was actually cleaning of when Mum was on annual leave.
Oh, right. I was thinking laundry. I didn't know it. We've been running a B&B.
Oh, okay, so in relation to the point that Ian's making there, could we maybe refer this to the environmental committee and maybe have a look at echoing what Carrie sort of said,
Yes.
some communication with the city and council, how often are we getting it mowed? Do we need it mowed that often? You know, to be honest, I think it's quite interesting, your suggestion of this willow wisp, to be honest, because I know it is a cash crop. I was
A terminology, Chair.
but you know, it could be something to look at, and again, that could be environmentally friendly, as it were. So you know, I think it's something we could note to be elsewhere. Sarah.
I suggested it in the. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have suggested in the past that we grow willow as a hedge there, but it would have to be controlled. It would have to be really kept in line. Otherwise, we'd have a tiger by the tail because it grows very fast. We'd have to make damn sure we had people who were willing to harvest it regularly. Yeah, I like the idea of willow. People enjoy all the grain there.
So late in the mood anyway, here all week. Okay, yeah, but like as you sort of said, I think this is something we need to refer back to the environmental committee just to have an explore of the feasibility. Can we move on?
No.
Yes.
You can approve the payments and the budget monitor.
Yeah. Can we move on?
No.
All right, Pam. Yeah.
We made a kind of a pledge to keep that open I didn't want to come in on this, but this is a point you've raised, as an open green space for things like when we had the fest there, so people could take it over with all sorts of different things. If you're going to start planting it up, then we need to do a public consultation to see whether people actually want it to remain as a green space or whether they want it planted up as trees, which will further stop people being able to see the sea as they drive past. That was one of the conditions that we made as part of planning when we went for the skate park. So that's something you need to, it's not just you can just plant some trees, there's a lot of work that's got to be done before that.
Exactly what environmental could look at, isn't it, really? But anyway, Sarah.
Yeah, no, it would have to be a hedge and it would have to be kept under control. That would be the main thing.
Okay, then we just pass it over to environmental. So can we move on to the next topic anybody wants to raise on the financial report? If not, Kerry, have you got anything more to say on it? So are we happy to accept the financial report as it stands, bearing in mind the discussion we've had? Okay, thank you all for that very much.
Budget monitoring.
So the budget monitoring report, thank you for that, Will. And also we need to approve the budget monitoring report for February 2024. Unless anybody's got any questions for that, can I move it to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you, Ben. So can we go to the chair for the report of the Finance and Compliance Committee?
Sorry, can I just mention, I wasn't in the last finance meeting, but I think the recommendation of the second one on your list, declare a personal interest.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair. last Finance and Compliance Committee meeting, we had 2 grant applications. One was from Newton Athletic for a football festival in June. They were making an application for £1,500, and that was approved. Second application was from Mumbles Movers and Gower Groovers, and that was for a sum of £829 per term, and it was to assist in relation to the elderly and disabled, to provide friendships and improve their social networking. We started off the meeting with 4 councillors, however, one of which had difficulties with his Wi-Fi. So we did pause to try and enable him to rejoin the meeting, but that wasn't forthcoming. So it was then a vote. I was then asked that a vote be taken. It was turned down on a 2-to-1. I voted in favour. 2 other councillors voted against it. And the implication there was that they felt it was inconsistent, bearing in mind this application had been approved by council previously. I would say it was consistent. However, they were concerned that the Sunshine Yoga, which had been dealt with previously and had been debated by full council, they felt that because they had been turned down, they felt the Mumbles Movers, Gower Groovers should be turned down as well, which I thought was rather unfair on the application.
Rebecca?
I mean, if you finished your report.
Yes, it's just the 2 applications. It was a very quick meeting, if you remember.
It was the quickest meeting I've ever been in. Yeah, I just wanted to comment as one of the councillors who voted against the Mumbles Movers and Gower Groovers application. It was not a vote against the application per se, but rather, if you look at what they are trying to achieve, they're basically identical to the Sunshine Yoga application that we've considered twice now. And on both of those occasions, council chose not to grant that application. Now, I would say those decisions were inconsistent with the original decision to grant Mumbles Movers and Gower Groovers in the first place. So clearly we've got ourselves in a bit of a muddle here. My argument was, until we have a clear, consistently applied policy on this type of wellbeing and fitness activity for generally older, generally disabled, generally in some way isolated or vulnerable people, we shouldn't really be considering any of the applications. When we have that policy, I personally hope it would allow us to grant this, and it would allow us to grant the Sunshine Yoga one as well. Because I do think this is something that fits within our community plan, it fits within our aims and objectives, but we just can't make inconsistent decisions because they'll get challenged.
Okay, I'll take it one at a time, Rob.
I'd actually like us to vote to overturn this decision from the Finance Committee, because a number of reasons. I know the person who runs the Movers and Groovers, and yes, it's predominantly aimed at people with mobility issues, and the older generation. For some of them, they turn up with carers, and it really has helped them. I have a friend who goes to it, who's my age, who has MS. She's now walking without a stick because of these classes. It's run by somebody who has a master's in dance therapy, and the important thing there is it's not a keep fit class or anything like that. It's run by somebody with a master's who's done the work in dance and movement therapy. So, you know, it's slightly different from your normal keep fit or mobility group in that way. I think, you know, the young people have plenty of things that in the area, and plenty of stuff that we cater for with younger people. And I think the older people, as proof with the Coffee and Friends, is something we really need to be spending more time and energy on those sort of people. often, you know, there are people who, through mobility or vulnerability, can't leave their houses as often. And I know how much they appreciate the Tuesday, you know, coffee and cake, and how they light up just being able to have something to leave the house for and something to enjoy. I think if we don't award this, all we're doing is there's no win-win situation then. We're just, people will lose out. It's as simple as that. People are going to lose out if we don't reverse this decision. That's what I'd like to say.
Okay,
I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, but I'm not voting to overturn the decision. I think the decision has been made, and I think more respect needs to be given to each individual committee for these decisions to be made. But my point was just not to make it personal. If one person didn't win the money, we can't then not award for somebody else just because somebody else didn't, because they should all be discussed.
And they should be awarded on their merits. It shouldn't be, if that's what's being implied, is tit for tat thing. Will, and then Richard.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Rebecca said though about having a framework for grant applications, because, for example, if we turn down Sunshine Yoga based on certain criteria, then there needs to be a policy that we can point to. Otherwise, we're going to get similar applications. So, I mean, we either need to. I think I agree with you, but I'm the opposite opinion. As I said before, you think we should be doing things like this. I don't think we should be doing things like that, right? So it's different. I don't think we should be competing with the private sector unless we can demonstrate that there is no private sector stepping in to fill that gap. If there is, for example, no service for a certain thing, then we could look to fill that gap. But if there is classes, then we shouldn't be subsidising them, in my opinion. But that's, again, just my opinion. So I think it needs to be taken away, and we need to have some kind of policy. So either staff need to look at that or a working group. So that would be my recommendation. So based on this.
Okay, Richard, and then Pam, and then Sarah. Richard first.
I've heard people said some very good comments, and quite passionate comments from yourself, Rob. But as you said, Rebecca, there seems to be inconsistency, which you seem to address there. I think it's a case of both these Sunshine Yoga and Movers and Groovers, they're similar, targeted for a similar area. It should perhaps it's a case of we should go with both or go with neither for consistency, but it's something that needs to be looked at.
Okay, Pam, and then Sarah, and then you want to come in.
Yeah, I was going to say that people have got a hand up.
Yeah. Okay. So Pam and then Sarah, then over to you. Okay.
I think Angela said it quite succinctly, and the point she made was one that I would have made. And Rebecca said we have to sort this out. So does it go back to committee? Do we have a special committee? Just put that on the agenda that we need to, on the minutes, that we need to get that sorted. But other people have made the points I wanted to make.
Okay, thank you for that, Sarah.
Yeah, I can't say I know. I haven't got any dear friends or anybody on the Sunshine Yoga, but I have heard a lot from our LAC Amy lady, who told me that this woman is very good at working with people who are vulnerable, who don't come out of the home, and takes her time with them and looks after them. And I think it would have been very good. And from what you were saying, it sounded like the one in Newton was similar. So it's very sad that we ended up in this position where neither gets support. I think we need to get our act together and work out what we stand for and what we give this money to, because I think both of them sound worthwhile to me. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Sarah. Okay.
Yes, so just to say, in the March meeting when I was on annual leave, you did vote through the new amended grants policy, which does actually state in there that all applications need to contribute to delivering one of the outcomes from our community plan, which are stronger local community and improved built environment, fewer transport issues, and one in there is reduced isolation for older people. It does then go on to say in the policy that applicants will be scored on each one of those criteria, and they need to have fulfilled at least one of those criteria for the application to be discussed and the recommendation to come forward. So that was that policy was agreed in your March full council meeting. So going forward now from this new financial year, your decisions on applications coming forward will be based on that policy now. So to remind councillors that you've already got a policy in place, and you've got a separate policy for.
So were these two applications scored, marked?
No, the policy hasn't come in yet.
Policy hasn't come in yet, but I was just checking that it hadn't. But so
So could recommend that they go back to being.
well, that's what I mean. Next step. I was going to suggest that we put it back to the committee, and this time that is scored against our criteria.
Okay, that's fine for the movers and groovers one, because you haven't made a resolution on that decision just yet if somebody wants to do that. But for the Sunshine Yoga one, because there was a resolution made in a previous council committee, which I believe wasn't 6 months ago, somebody would have to, you can't do it within 6 months unless somebody puts a motion in writing forward to me for that to come forward to the next council meeting in May, wherever we are.
Yeah, Carrie.
Yeah, I was just going to say it would be grossly unfair to allow something to be revisited without the other, because every single thing that has been said about the Mumbles movers and groovers can be absolutely word for word repeated. For Sunshine Yoga, there is absolutely no difference between.
Yeah, well, that's something for the discussion. Francesca?
Just out of interest, with the Mumbles, movers and groovers, was there a limited space on that? How many could they operate? How many people could go? It wasn't limited to numbers.
I mean, it will be limited.
I don't know the answer to
So I
that.
think that was the difference between that application and I think the Lotus one was what 15 people, wasn't it? It was more limited than that one.
But again, these are the sort
Yeah,
of committees
exactly. Whereas
it would be value for money.
if you think of the stuff that we do, like the coffee and cake, we don't live, so we do stuff, and I do agree with you, Rob, that it is great. We do have a lot of elderly people, and I think it's fantastic because the children's stuff we do, or the family fun days, but again, it's not often. I appreciate the stuff that Amelia and Helen did. We're sort of limited on numbers, but overall, we don't limit. So I think that's probably where we will have to check. That it doesn't limit space.
Okay, well, yeah, just back to my point really, and maybe I'm the only one who feels like this, I don't know, but if there is a private sector doing something and we are subsidising competition, it should be part of our grants process, in my opinion. It should be part of our grants criteria.
But we have got that in the policy that we've
No, it's not in the policy. And what I'm saying is, you lot might totally disagree, and therefore it doesn't form part of the, exactly, it doesn't form part of that policy. But I personally think that it should be part of the criteria.
Amendment at the end.
Okay, Sarah, and then I'll go back to you.
Just to come back to Will on that. One in West Cross, it was aimed at vulnerable people who genuinely couldn't have afforded to have gone to the kind of yoga treatments elsewhere that were put on. So I don't think it's a threat to people, all the other yoga groups that are doing it. I also would like to make sure that these things are they free at the point of use, or is it kept very, very cheap? Because if we're supporting it, we shouldn't really find that there's people who can't afford to go and do it afterwards because they can't afford the prices. Sorry, it's an awful echo. It's dreadful.
Ian?
Yes, thank you. Well, it would seem it's a bit of a quandary here. I'm of the view that each application should be measured on its own merits. We were very concerned with Sunshine Yoga that it may well have been impinging on the business sector. I did speak with the proprietor of Bay Fitness this morning, and she's in the process of looking at providing these sorts of classes for the elderly and those that are struggling with their balance, etc. And they're approaching City and County of Swansea for grant funding on it. And if they were to get the grant funding, well, obviously no one would incur a charge then. So Sunshine Yoga did get a £10,000 lottery grant, which we looked at that. We looked at a number of issues. And I think it's good that we've been able to bring this to council, because the manner in which the movers and groovers was turned down, I thought was grossly disingenuous. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's just a point of information that the movers and groovers application says it benefits 25 to 30 people currently, and the last Sunshine Lotus Yoga application said 45.
We must have changed it. I think previously it was much lower than that.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with kind of going back and asking them to reapply, and you ask everyone to reapply, because I think Bay Fitness were turned down before with this very council, hence why they're probably going to Swansea Council, and then coming out to the recommendations that if there's a business in the area that's already paying for, say, the Austrian Hall and the West Cross Physio Centre, so in other words, giving other businesses money, that they should get perhaps a priority in getting certain funding from us, something back to them to be able to provide it, because these are also businesses that are doing it. I know that the yoga place, actually online, they do charge for retreats thousands of pounds to take people away. So they are a business as well as doing some stuff for, you know, for good as well.
I think it could start to get incredibly difficult, to be honest.
That's where everyone's trying to do the same.
Francesca, did you want to say?
No.
So going forward from here, yeah, and I take your point there when you saying, Ange, is do we go back to the committee with the 2 or 3 applications and that they are point scored against this criteria that we have got now? I think, sorry. Go ahead, Will.
Well, I'd personally like the criteria reviewed.
Yeah.
But that's the criteria we've
Just done it.
We've only just done it. That's the criteria we've got at this stage.
Yeah.
I take your point, right? So that's the criteria that we've got at the moment. If you want the criteria changed, then that is something that we need to come back to a full council with at some future date. But I'm just trying to sort of work out a way forward with what we've got in front of us now. And that is what I'm proposing. Can I bring Alan?
Yeah, I think maybe look at the criteria again, because even though that was only just recently done, it was also only just recently done that both of these decisions were made.
But that, if you like, almost that's another discussion that we can have at another time. Rebecca?
To flip this, the alternative way of doing it is for council to agree that we agree that there is some need for a free at the point of use, super accessible, aimed at elderly, disabled, you know, whatever. Write our spec of what it is that we want to deliver as a community council and tender it, because you know, we could review those 3 applications, but then what are we going to do? Have this debate again next month? We could use small money to pay for it, but I think what I would say in that case is that I would be very concerned about geographical spread as well. So I wouldn't just want one class that's in Mumbles Village, because that won't suit our whole.
But can I, on that point, I think it's been quite known how people are going to vote. So when it comes to a vote and it's brought before, haven't some of us got a personal and prejudicial interest then? Because it's been evident from those committees that there's certain councillors that, but it may look like that, Carrie, but it's evident that certain people have wanted that grant to be granted. How do we sit then? We've had these discussions on multiple occasions. How does it sit when it comes to vote? Have we got a
okay.
You know,
Can I bring Sarah in, please? Sarah?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point. We can't say that about businesses and the yoga or whatever, because if that's the case, the very successful Ostream and our Warm Hub and Linden should all shut down, because we could be putting cafes out of business, which we're obviously not doing.
Yeah, well, this has already
we're encouraging people into these places. So
this has already been raised, as we know, in relation to the Coffee with Friends, right?
I know.
I'm just trying to find a way forward through this mire.
I think
taking into account what Rebecca said there, and I do think with our community plan, with our strategic objectives, we have got objectives about older people, improving their connections, the social connections and their mobility and issues like that. I do personally, I don't know whether other councillors would agree with me, I do think that this is something that we are not providing maybe as much as we are in other areas, right? So to go forward, taking into account what Rebecca has suggested, shall we go forward with a tender?
Yeah, I like that.
This is what we want. We've identified this is a shortcoming in our strategic objectives, i.e. networks for people and improve their physical mobility and social well-being, and we go forward on that basis.
Yeah, I think that works as long as you geographically, it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be quite specific in what our aims and objectives are.
Yeah,
and it has to be open to.
Yeah, and also then we can think about going back to, do we need to revisit these guidelines? But that's another discussion.
Yeah, I was going to say, will you put that recommendation, the proposal that Rebecca's put forward, if you vote on it, will you put that down to the finance committee to do the legwork on all the background information that goes into the tender to then bring that back to full council? How do you want that? I think put into that basically is what I'm asking.
Rebecca?
I think the aims and objectives would sit in the terms of reference of the Community and Social Development Committee myself.
Yes.
However, I think given that it would be finance money, and we've all clearly got opinions on this matter, let's open it up to all councillors.
Who's going to,
including the Finance and Compliance Committee, that's.
Who's going to do the legwork in putting the criteria together?
I would suggest the clerk and the RFO would be the obvious people to do it.
Well, that takes a lot of the committee work.
Direction I need then is, does that then come back to consultations with both finance and
I think
yes, and then it comes back to council, or
I would say that comes back to full council.
that's what you guys decide. Yes. Yeah.
Because you're going to save all this messing about, bring it back to full council. If the RFO and yourself are prepared to do the legwork on that, then we come up with that, comes back to full council, and we vote on it in full council.
Could I just ask one question? So is there, in this proposal, anyone who then goes to submit a grant similar to what we've just had, we're told, sorry, we don't accept grants like this, but we do a tender once a year?
Yeah, in that case, maybe that is advertised openly to everybody.
So it's all.
So you almost need to put on our grant applications then, we don't accept grants for X, Y, Z because we do this.
Because we've done this for tender, yeah. Okay, are we happy with that proposal?
Area specific.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll be coming in from all over.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good thing.
Local.
The benefits are local.
So the proposal is that we go to the clerk and RFO to put a tender together to for some sort of service provision for elderly people, or is it excluded people?
Excluded, I think. People who are ill.
Okay. Isolated people.
Can't just say elderly people.
No, okay, isolated people. To address social and physical development.
Yes.
Social and physical well-being and development. Okay?
Yes.
Are we happy to vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So.
Okay.
Okay.
You can just write whatever you.
Yeah. So are we happy to move? Have you finished with your report now? Are we happy to move on to
Well, it was a very full report.
Yes, really. So.
Sorry, Chair, are you happy to vote on the
recommendation?
Recommendation, would that be okay? Newton Football Club.
Yeah. So can we vote on the recommendations that are contained in that report now?
Sorry, Chair, I've just realised I need to declare a personal interest in this. Julius just joined Newton Athletics.
All right, personal interest from me, Chair, as well. I did forget that it's my son.
Yeah. So can we note those interests in the Newton Athletic?
Sorry, can I have that as well, please? I've got a personal interest in Newton Athletic. My son plays for them as well.
Okay. So as long as all those are noted. So we go with the recommend. So we're voting on the recommendation for the £1,500 to be granted to Newton Athletic Football Club. All those in favour? Okay. That's the only recommendation on that. There you go. Sorry.
It's nearly on.
I know.
Bloody heck.
Report from the chair. Right. Community and Social Committee now.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Because I muted you because to try and eliminate the echo that other users are experiencing.
Okay.
So when people aren't speaking, if they could just mute themselves, that might help everybody else with the hearing.
Thanks, Kerry. I had my iPad plugged in to read from it, but you went on for so long, it's drained, and I had to go and look for another wire to plug it in. However, this lasts. The first thing is we were supposed to be having, and it's over here, which is why I'm looking over here, because I haven't got a plug that'll reach the table. Was from Mumbles Yacht Club, was going to come and give us a talk. Mr. Hughes, you spoke directly with him. Would you tell the council what's been going on with that, please? Because you're very up to date with that.
Yes, certainly. Kimberly, I forgot
Little more.
Thank you. She was due to give us a presentation next Wednesday. Unfortunately, she's abroad, and she couldn't find a substitute to deliver the presentation. So the two options were really that it's postponed until May, or it's done remotely from abroad. But when we spoke to her, she mentioned that it would be better to do it in person for other people, let alone herself. Plus, she's also meeting somebody from Swansea City Council in relation to planning prior to May. So having spoken to Pam this morning, it was agreed we'd postpone the presentation until May. And I'll update all the councillors nearer the time, because what I did last month was invite everybody to that meeting, because it's quite a significant development, I think, what they hope to do there, and just to make everybody aware of what's going on. Is that enough, Pam? Sorry.
Yes, that's quite succinct. Thank you very much. So this next Wednesday, there won't be a big general meeting with Mumbles Yacht Club.
That's right.
And the meeting will be held online. It won't be held out from the office. We would have come to the office because she would have needed to use all the electronics. So next Wednesday's meeting will be online. Okay. The next thing is a recommendation. This is going back at me. A recommendation that from within our budget, £3,900 is via to pay for last year's skate jam.
Last year.
I beg your pardon?
Sorry, last year, you said.
Last year's skate jam. We were short on the money for it because we hadn't budgeted for it because we didn't know about it. So Paul scraped every penny together that he could find, and he found £3,900 and asked if that could be wired to pay for last year's skate jam. But it comes from within our budgets. We're not asking anybody else for any money. So that's the one recommendation from us. If you could vote on that, please.
Any questions on that? Ian?
Yes. I did mention this topic at the community and social meeting recently. Very much against the environment of this sum of money. It's come about because of an underspend of £10,000, which was budgeted for the Club Park Spark Gate system at Langland. Now, initially, we were offered £10,000 from the LTA to pay for this. And then council saw fit, they didn't want that. And they decided that they would budget £10,000 of precept money to cover for it. However, there was a turnaround and they then went back to the LTA and the LTA said, well, they would pay for it. Now, this sum of money should, in my opinion, go into contingency. It ought not to be spent on the skate jam. The skate jam should have been budgeted for in 23. And it's, to my mind, it's inappropriate for it to be spent in this way now.
I agree with Ian.
Okay, that will.
So this is for last year's skate jam that's already happened, correct? So the money's already been spent.
Yeah.
So what happens if it doesn't get voted on?
It goes into contingency and gets paid from that.
Surely it should not be vested.
Still talking.
One at a time, please.
So if it was, if it's been agreed by full council already, so this is just a paper exercise.
This is like the angels dancing on top. You know, I can see where people are coming from, but ultimately this money has been spent, and these bills are going to be paid.
Very successful.
Yeah, but like all I'm just sort of saying is, I take on board what Will's saying there. The money has been spent. We've got the money somewhere. If we're not going to get it out of there, we're going to have to get it from someone else.
Well, the point is though that it's already been agreed by full council.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been, then
yeah,
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I think it's already been agreed.
Well, that's what I mean.
This was in the budget for 20.
Yeah.
Four. So there's not one happening.
No, I can see
another one happening.
I can see where you're coming from, but anyway, that's not what's in front of us. What we're voting on is what's in front of us.
So obviously we have to vote on it, is the reality then, because it already has been, so it's just go through the motions. Yeah. Well, why would we spend money that we never had from the beginning? I don't quite understand. Would I just go out and buy some things and do some stuff with money I don't have, and then just fire it back next year because the bill's got to be paid? Doesn't really make sense to me.
It was agreed by full council.
Some gym equipment, I believe.
So why are we having it again if it's already been agreed?
Well, I don't understand.
Can I admit, you have to agree the environment because it was agreed that you would put the event on, knowing that you were going to potentially use underspend for another budget head to put that event on. Or contingency. So you have to agree the environment from that budget head and into the skate jam. So then when you're demonstrating how you've done your accounts for the year, people can see, right, okay, they paid 3,900 for the skate jam, as opposed to it just saying, I don't know what contingency said 6,000, then all of a sudden it drops down to 2,000. People will be like, oh, why is that contingency gone down? So it's showing that you've spent money on the skate park jam. What I will also say as well, just to clear this up for everybody, is that at the end of the financial year, you have your budgets and you'll have your underspends and your overspends, and then you also have a pot of money, which is normally referred to as your general reserve fund, or as you guys understand it, your contingency fund. Now, what happens at the end of every financial year is that part will either fluctuate up or down depending on how well you've operated within your budget. So if you don't agree the environment, that contingency pot is going to come down by that much of money that you've spent anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, Sarah and Helen, but can we?
Yeah, very quickly, Chair. I don't know why it cost that much. It seemed ludicrous, the amount it sort of ballooned, really. And we weren't in charge of it as councillors. It was done by our events officer. I think we could do it a lot better and cheaper in the future if we did do it again. It was incredibly popular and it really reflected well on us. So I think it's something we really should do again. It's nice to have an event in, if not West Cross, Males, that's attracted all that. So I think it is a good one and not to be turned off by it. But yeah, I agree. It was very expensive. Sooner we plant a hedge along that side so we don't have to put Harris fencing up or whatever would be great. Thanks. That's all I want to say.
Helen.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of add that this is a bit of a theoretical discussion. I think it was a good event. I didn't know what it cost. As it happens, I did ask Paul at the time to put £70. I know it's such a paltry amount, but that's all I could afford, to put £70 from my own ward budget towards it. I didn't realise the cost was going to be that great, but I think it was a really good event, and I think we shouldn't be put off, as Sarah said, to run that sort of thing again. We should always plan well, of course we should, but let's just learn from what's happened, and I think we should be looking to run something similar again, because it's outdoors, and there was loads of councillors getting all the photos, I happen to add, so lots of good press as a result of it.
Okay, so are we happy to move to the vote, that we vote on the payment, yeah? All those in favour of the payment from the, okay, all those against? Okay, carried then. So that's the only recommendation of that?
I haven't finished it.
Pardon?
I haven't quite finished it.
Oh, you haven't quite finished, go on then, Pam.
I'm just reading from Ian's minutes, which is a lot easier. Councillor Sarah Keaton passed on thanks from the basketball community for the court at Langland. Apparently some teenagers have been able to access places in clubs simply because they have superb facilities at Langland where they've been able to improve their skills and bring them up to a level where they're being accepted by clubs. So that's worked very well. I'm really pleased about that. I don't know whether I'm here next month to say it, so I'm going to say this now. It's my penultimate report as chair of this committee. Can I please thank all of us councillors who over the years have been stalwart supporters of the projects that we have offered and delivered, whilst also being trusted as critical friends when advice was sought and needed. And I think that's been so important, that people have been able to help us and say, well, this isn't going to work, help with that. So that's just to say thank you to everybody over the years for everything you've done. There's a comment I'd like to make. As a chair, it isn't my job to make personal reflections on whatever recommendations have come from my committee. I don't say these people, I don't like the way that these people voted, I don't like the way that those people voted, I thought that was unfair. That's not my job as chair. My job as chair is to report, not to make such scathing remarks against councillors who have worked very hard to bring these things forward. So thank you very much, everybody, for those who have helped. If I'm here next month, I won't say it. But thank you for the friends that we've had that have been with us all the way through. We wouldn't have had a skate park without them, or many of the things that we've done. So thanks very much. And that's me finished.
Thank you for putting that on record. I think that was a very important statement to make, Pam. So thank you very much for that. Okay. So are we happy now to move on to the point 11, which is recommendations from Culture, Tourism and Communications Committee?
Skipped environmental.
I skipped environmental.
It's 12.
So, yeah.
Unless we're digging the agenda.
12. Yes.
Sorry, 12 is involved. Okay. So if we move on to report from the Chair of the Environmental Committee then, so.
Okay, apologies, there's no written paper, but are you okay if I just give a few verbal bullet points?
Yeah, sure. That's how I just went through the paper. See.
Yeah, no apologies for that. And if I start echoing, I'm just gonna have to try and close my eyes and just talk because I can't bear to hear my own voice. So point number 1, I think there's about 5 bullets to cover very quickly. Point number 1, the Environmental Committee discussed the recruitment of a grounds person. So as you know, at the last meeting, there was quite a long discussion around moving ahead. It was agreed to move ahead with recruit a grounds person, at the same time look at options for a contractor. So we had quite a long discussion around this. Mike Parkin was part of that discussion, so was Martin, as well as other committee members present. And it was agreed in the end that we were just going to crack on with recruiting a grounds person as it was. We felt the business need had not changed. And whilst we felt there were opportunities on a task and finish basis to bring in contractors, like some initial groundworks, etc., when you need a person or a service, you know, full time on an ongoing basis, kind of all our experience around that table, and I include Martin and Mike Parkin in this, we all felt that our experience was that you know, that ends up becoming very, very expensive and can be very hard to manage, and in fact would probably be a false economy, whereas Lydia would have to manage quite a complicated contract. There was a very long discussion about this at the committee, and we were all unanimous in that decision. I had actually asked, straight after this last meeting, I had asked Paul to send the job description out to any contractors with a sense of if anything had come in, and between the full council and the committee meeting, which I think was about 2 to 3 weeks, nothing had come in terms of any expressions of interest. So we just felt we're going to crack on with recruiting. The business need hasn't changed. We've all felt it was the most economically prudent course of action to take, but we do think there are opportunities to use contractors on an ad hoc basis. So I can take questions at the end perhaps, but shall I just rattle through my bullets just to keep it quick, and then people can ask questions. So then the other thing to say is that we had a brilliant Gardeners Question Time event. It was a pilot event. It was held on the 26th of March. I want to say a huge thank you to Ian, Carrie, Amelia, Claire and Lydia, and Ian, because Ian suggested, as well as Ian Hughes, as well as Ian Scott. Ian Scott was my first name, Ian Hughes then at the end. Because it was a huge team effort, that was, and it was a pilot. It went so well. We had such huge interest, and I say the panel were just really incredible. So that event went really, really well, and we are hoping to recreate that next year, and we've got money in the budget for that next year. We came under budget. It was £1,000. We came well within that, so that was a really good event, and thank you for the team that worked with me on that. At that, we launched Mumbles Buzz and Bloom. So we're bringing back, you know, Mumbles in Bloom to try and spruce up and encourage and celebrate the gardening and the growing that goes on the high street and within our gardens. We've renamed it Buzz and Bloom to reflect a more of a kind of appreciation of the pollination aspects. That entries will be open from the 1st of May. Several of the council around this table, including Ian and Carrie and Sarah and a few others, Amelia, have agreed to be judges alongside some experts. So it's really important that we push that to get people, businesses on Newton Road, etc., you know, getting hanging baskets out, you know, helping the Mumbles as a tourist destination, as well as just, you know, acknowledging and recognising all the amazing growing that goes on. So that will be open from the 1st of May till the end of July, with winners announced in September. Then we've got kind of my final 2 points are kind of interlinked. So as you may know, we've been successful in applying for the big climate leap in Swansea, which is lottery funding, which means that we've got free expert help to act on the climate emergency that we've declared a couple of years ago, and help us improve to help us decarbonise basically what we do as an office, as an organisation. It's amazing that Lydia's got us this free help. It's a really big project. So Lydia's in discussions with the staff team, with Kerry, about how we use that free help to improve what we do to reduce the carbon, the waste of some of the initiatives. We're thinking Mumbles Fest could be a project that could, you know, benefit from this free advice. So I think Lydia is going to be in touch with Claire to suggest that, and obviously you as well, Rob. So this isn't, whilst this is a project that the Environmental Committee are managing, a project that will need to be fully embraced by the whole council, and I think we'll come back to you with some further information about that, because part of that is improving our eco-literacy and our carbon literacy as an organisation. And whilst there's a couple of people who are really into all of that stuff, like me, Carrie, Sarah, Rebecca, a few others, Amelia, and Mike actually as well, I think we'd all benefit from some useful information. So that's a whole thing that I would love us if we could all embrace. And then linked to that, my final point is, so One Voice Wales have got this really fantastic guide which they have just published on, as an office, how as an office, a building, a kind of a corporate entity, how you can improve your environmental footprint. So Carrie and I are going through that in detail to look at what the quick wins could be for us. And we've got a little working group on Thursday of this week, and we'll be bringing some recommendations forward. And again, that's free advice of things that we can do to improve.
to improve our kind of environmental footprint and to help us maximise our contribution to Swansea's wellbeing objectives, which we've got a legal obligation to do. So quite a lot covered there, sorry, Martin.
Okay, no, you've got no particular recommendation. Any questions for the?
Just to say well done, Helen, and everybody involved, putting off that gardeners. I know you talked about it when I was on environmental last year. I heard really good things. And I think your energy and passion and the whole of the environmental committee is actually really, really good. So thank you to all of you for what you've done.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive reports about that. And, you know, as I said, the buzz that goes round about these events that we do is fantastic. Carrie?
Yeah, to add to that, Oystermouth Radio recorded the event, and it will be available on Oystermouth Radio on Friday, Saturday and Sunday at 5 o'clock. So everyone who missed it can get along and, well, not get along, switch on and have a listen to it. And interestingly, on the way out, somebody asked me, oh, is this going to be every week? I sort of went, not quite.
Maybe if we could make a note that we publicise that on our social media.
I think it's already gone out.
Yeah. Just to have it a matter of record.
Martin, can I just add, it was a huge team effort. It was brilliant to work with Ian Scott. It was brilliant to work with Carrie and Amelia on this. And Claire Anderson was fantastic. She wants to run it every quarter. She really got into it. And Lydia is always brilliant, but it was a team effort.
Yeah, well, again, going back to my chair's report, I think when we work as a team, we can work together really well. Like, you know, I think that's very important. Okay, so can we go on to the Culture, Tourism and Communication Committee now?
Okay, thanks, Mart. One recommendation, and that was that as a full council, we approve the Castles in the Sky that the Welsh Air Ambulance are putting on. They want to put a castle at the skate park again, like they did last year. They've also approached us about the Underhill Hub, and we've said, well, you need to speak to them about that one. But the only recommendation is for council to approve that we support them for the Castles in the Sky at the skate park.
Is there any cost to that? Or?
No, no cost at all.
Okay, well, do you want to go through the rest of the?
Yeah. So just an update on Mumfest. Most of the acts have been booked, and including 2 bilingual acts. Host has been booked, and by the next meeting of the Culture Committee, we will have the final lineup with the timings and the slots, who's playing when as well. I'm not mentioning anything about who, because it's going to be drip fed to the public, and there's members of the public here and they can all watch the video back as well. So, you know, I'll tell you privately, but I'm not prepared to do that on video.
Just on that note, it was disappointing that nobody else came to the meeting that was requested.
Yes.
But we'll leave it there.
Yeah. It was an extra meeting and nobody turned up, and that was disappointing. The next thing is Mumbles Palette, which I think is being called, I put it down as Mumbles Palette, it's been rebranded to something else. That's your and Tim thing.
Yeah, mine and Tim's thing. It's sort of day in the life of Mumbles.
Day in the life of Mumbles. So it's going to be a photography exhibition and competition. Most people have smartphones now, which have very good quality cameras and tricks they can do and stuff like that. So we're encouraging people of all ages, because they will carry their phones around with them, to take part in this. And it's going to be capturing Mumbles historically, architecturally, different sections like that. So that's going to be happening August, we hope. We had a meeting with Mumbles traders at the start, and a presentation from Paul Whitaker with the estimated cost of the events put on by the traders. Some questions were asked regarding the costs, and he's going to be providing a detailed breakdown for the committee of those costs. And Mumbles competition, hopefully we'll have the update of that at the next meeting. But that's all from me, over and out.
Okay, any questions for the chair? No, if that's the case, can we vote on the recommendation that the council support the Castles in the Sky initiative? Those in favour? Thank you, that's passed. Okay then, so the next one now is recommendations from the Twinning Committee. Is that you, Rebecca?
That is me, yeah. So every year we either have a visit arrive or send a delegation. This year is a particularly special year because it's the 20th anniversary of the twinning of Mumbles and Levant in northern France, and they are visiting us. So the visit is from the 9th of June until the end of that week, whatever the Friday is. And every year when there's a visit coming here, MCC provides a programme for one day of that week. And obviously we try and make sure that the programme is complementary to the rest of the week's programme that is organised by the Twinning Association of Mumbles. So the subcommittee met just before Easter. I am trying to squeeze all of this in before going on maternity leave, so apologies that it's all kind of, but anyway, we're getting there. And the proposed programme for the day that we will run would be focused on industry, because 2 years ago when they visited we focused on the arts. So they did Glenvivian and they had a tour kind of the arts and culture, Dylan Thomas, that kind of thing. So this year we're thinking a trip on the Copper Jack, stop then at lunch at the National Waterfront Museum. Our day is a day when the transport section of the Waterfront Museum is likely to be open, so they'll be able to see the Mumbles train, tram, and then have a walking tour of the Copper Quarter with a guide from a local kind of voluntary society. And then because it's the 20th anniversary, we thought it would be really great to have a kind of special civic dinner at the Mansion House, because when twinning, for those of you that were around when twins halved Grace, it's kind of signed off by the Mayor of Swansea. So the Mansion House would be the location. Normally we have that dinner in Mumbles because we want to support our local restaurants, but on this occasion we're proposing the Mansion House. And then because of it being the 20th anniversary as well, in lieu of a civic gift that we normally exchange with the representative of the Mayor, we're suggesting a slate plaque to commemorate the anniversary, and the cost of that would be shared with the Twinning Association of Mumbles. I just wanted to kind of point out points 2 and 3 as well on the proposal, because I'm conscious that we have had feedback around, making sure that we're doing everything we can to support twinning and really reap its benefits. So there's 2 things that kind of occurred to us, although we are very much open to other ideas. One is that there's a number of local primary schools who are undertaking French as an enrichment activity, and having that opportunity to speak with natives, even if it's just for an hour in the morning, would be great. So I know a number of schools have already been approached for just some indicative interest. If more than one wanted to take part, then we'd try and host it here. If just one said, yes, we're keen, then we'd take the group to visit them. And then the other side of it is what we can do as MCC to promote TAM. The fact that you can do French language conversation once a month, you can play pétanque, it's a lovely social activity. So we're suggesting that one of the other days, so not our day, but a day that's actually in Mumbles, we as MCC promote the opportunity for all Mumbles residents to come along and take part, whether or not they're members of TAM or not, and to meet the visiting group. So the day that's suggested the activity is pétanque et pique-nique. And again, that's no cost, but it's just to kind of try and get a sense of the village coming around this visit as well, rather than it just being a civic dignitaries thing. You don't have any update on the mayor's? No, okay.
We will chase the council. Thank you.
Okay. Any Rob?
Just a pity they're going the day before Mumfest.
I know. And last year they were going to be here for Mumbles Fest and we moved it.
We had to.
Yeah. But yeah, 1 year it'll coincide.
Okay, Will, and then if you're going to the Copper, well, it's not really Copper Tour of the River corridor, it might be worth the new Penderyn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's already organised on another day. Yeah, it's all booked in.
Yeah, shame about Mumbles Fest, but good that they're involving the schools as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll just make. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the figures here. Has this been budgeted for?
Yeah. So that is the last point I was going to make. So in what I've started calling the great cuts of 2024, the budget for twinning was reduced from £1,500 to £1,000. You'll notice that the figures indicative in the brackets don't come up to £1,500, because we're not clear exactly what the dinner will cost and exactly what the plaque will cost, and we don't want to come back to council to just debate this again. The £1,000 being up to 1,500 is made up of the underspend from this year, which Paul has helpfully confirmed with us today. We're underspent by £490 this year. So if you wish to edit it to take that £10 off, you're very welcome. But that's where the money is. It's fully budgeted for you.
Okay. With regards to the plaque, we have contributed to a plaque previously.
I think that was for, was that for the,
So we're going to give them.
that was for the actual twinning, was it? Go on.
Yes, that was actually produced by the Twinning Association, and we contributed something towards it. And that was a plaque that was put up in Mumbles Gardens, Jardin de Mumbles in Hennebont, celebrating the fact that a man by the name of Yves Pezeron lived in Hennebont, and he was a linguist back in, I think it was the 18th century, and he was the first person to connect and bring together the links between the Celtic languages, and particularly between Breton and Welsh. So that plaque was for that.
So just to clarify, that plaque is in France.
Is in France.
This would be in Mumbles.
Yes.
The Twinning Association would like to propose that it is somewhere on the Austrian building when the redevelopment is finished. We also do have Hennebont Gardens in Mumbles, but it's not, it's right down towards the lighthouse, isn't it? And I think connecting it more to Mumbles Community Council and it is at the village is perhaps more appropriate.
Okay, any other questions? If not,
Sarah's got a hand up.
Sorry, Sarah. Sarah?
Yeah, I think it's great, especially the children, because I did arrange one a few years ago where we took the children, the people from Hennebont into Bunderry School, and they were in tears hearing the children singing because they recognised their language, the English language. It was very touching because they said we are so close. Yeah, so I'm really excited about the fact the schools, you're involving the schools again. I think it's good as a community council to encourage that too.
Yeah. Agree with that, Clive. So if we're all happy with that, and as I sort of said, this is all budgeted for anyway, and it's sort of ongoing activity, so we're happy to all accept that. So, page 15 we've already covered. 116 local government finance consultation.
Yeah, so I've circulated the email I've received in the agenda, and it's basically asking, I basically want to know from council, do you want to put together a small working group to represent the views of the whole of council that we obviously put comments in on this consultation, because it will be something that will affect us eventually as a community council. And if so, who will the members be?
Don't mind, I'll do it.
Well, yes.
Be on that.
Yeah. Can I?
Deadline is Friday.
Yes.
Oh, I'm away.
So who's available to meet with me on Thursday, basically?
Yeah.
Telephone.
So do you want to arrange a meeting for Thursday?
Yeah.
Any councillor that's interested in contributing to this, can I ask you to send an email ASAP to Kerry? Okay.
Do we want to say a certain number of councillors have to show interest in contributing? Otherwise, we won't submit a submission, because otherwise it's one councillor's view, and it's a lot of work for that.
Yes.
I'd say
if it's the afternoon, I would be happy to do it.
I would suggest this about what we would have quorum for about 3 or 4.
I would say 3 on the basis of that's quorum for committee.
That's quorum for committee. That's exactly what I had in mind as well. So if we say 3, if we got 3, then we will.
If it's online in an hour, I can do it.
When is that? Thursday. I can't do Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Anybody online?
Anybody?
Oh, there we are. Sorry, we'll do it.
Thank you.
Will.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent.
Okay, it's fantastic. So if we move on to point 17, the D-Day celebrations.
So again, this is an email that's been circulated by One Voice Wales. And the reason why I put it on the agenda is because we need to obviously discuss what we're doing as a. One of the reasons why I've particularly agended this today is because there is the required, you can purchase a special flag to commemorate D-Day on a particular day for £22 something, I think it says in the report. The question I want to know is, because it's on a school day, is this something that we wanted to obviously purchase one for each of the schools and gift to them to see if they wanted to be involved in doing something as well? And I do know that Claire has had a meeting today with regards to D-Day and the beacon lighting that will be taking place in the Oystermount Castle on the 6th of June.
So I'm suggesting one for each school.
Yeah.
How many schools were that?
Seven. Yeah.
Schools.
Yeah. And then obviously they can, because the schools, I'm assuming, because it's on a school day as well,
Yeah.
it's difficult to bring everybody together to organise a activity. So if we have one as council, and obviously the schools have one as well.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Kate.
Yeah,
but I think it's a good idea, and I think you know, for the sake of 20 quid, you can leave it with the school to organise.
That's what they do with it.
Yeah, exactly. And if they don't do anything, then it's not the end of the world, is it? So yeah, so yeah, and
make them remember the disco.
And obviously a lot of the troops trained in Matmore Station in Matmore.
Yes.
On the cliffs.
Yeah, in the park and sort of stuff like that. And they were based up in well, they were based at Bay, weren't they? They had stuff there. Yeah. So, you know, bringing all that history to life. Anybody else got any observations? If not, are we happy to okay that?
Yeah. It raises the point that if and when we do something with our stream, we should have a flagpole.
Yes.
You know, draping it onto pipes out there. You know, it might get confused with tabletops.
I think that's a good point, and we have raised that before.
It's very unprofessional.
Okay, so One Voice Wales, our annual membership fee, 18.
Yep, so this is. Sorry, so because of the amount of the membership fee, it's just to bring forward the council to vote on that. We continue to be a member and we pay the membership fee that they have quoted in the email that I have included
And the actual price.
Is it not on there?
Sure it is, I just couldn't actually see it anywhere. Just tells you all the wonderful things that they're going to do, but doesn't actually price.
I think they're giving us all awards, I think we.
Yeah.
Kerry, is this not a delegated spend to the RFA?
I thought it was, yeah.
Yes, but it's 3,000, it's over £3,000, so I feel more comfortable if I sort of sign.
It's delegated.
It's always best to be safe than sorry with these sort of things. Okay, then, if any other questions about that, are we happy to okay this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that, yeah, okay, so that's okay. Confirm date of the annual general meeting.
Yes, so this is obviously myself getting prepared for what we need to do next month, and just looking at what you've done historically. You do AGM on the second Tuesday of the month, and then moved your council meeting to the Tuesday after that. So on that basis, I'm wanting to know if council can confirm that they're happy with the meeting date of the 7th of May for the annual general meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that date? 7th of May, Tuesday the 7th of May.
Yeah, as you lot know, I've brought this up a few times over the years, and I know you all think I'm nuts, but doing the AGM at the castle. Cool. Well, that's the weather's good. I'm sure they'd have Wi-Fi there. The AGM, exactly.
Yeah, we do think it.
Walk in your sheep.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
Every year I brought this up, six.
Enjoy the traditional proposal that we have this in the.
One day, it's everything last. It's an event.
Yes. Every board of that's
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's fine, because I think what's happening is if more than one person is speaking in this room, it's making it incredibly difficult for the people trying to hear. So that was just to confirm that the annual general meeting will be on Tuesday, the 7th.
Yeah. Okay. Confirm the schedule of meetings for the financial year 2024-2025.
Yeah, so again, this is just to confirm that you're happy with the current schedule you have, which is finance and compliance meet on the third Monday of every month, community and social meet on the third Wednesday of every month, environmental meet on the fourth Monday of every month, and culture meets on the fourth Wednesday of every month, and council will remain on the second Tuesday of every month. So just to confirm, you're happy with that, so then we can plot the schedule of meetings for the next year.
Yeah.
It
is. Committee meetings and Swansea Council same week. I can find them. Much, but
Chair, the sound is disappearing completely at times. Just to tell the chair, the sound is disappearing completely at times.
Okay, it's probably been overloaded. Okay, so we've done that. So exclusion of press and public. We all happy to exclude the press and public?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all those in favour?
Ian, can you just go through?
Yeah. Can you just?
We vote more.
Stop just recording.
Just doing that to start with.
I think they've gone.
Yeah.
There's nobody lurking at the bottom, is there?
You don't need to click the end, there you go, now click.